The air crackled with anticipation. The city of Boston was alive with excitement, the streets buzzing with energy. It was a day that brought together people from all walks of life, united in the spirit of competition and camaraderie. It was Patriots' Day in Boston, a day of celebration, a day for the marathon. Runners from around the world had gathered to test their endurance and push their limits. Families, friends, and spectators lined the route, eager to cheer on the athletes. Thousands lined the streets, their cheers echoing through the city. The atmosphere was electric, filled with the sounds of clapping hands, joyful shouts, and the rhythmic pounding of feet on pavement. It was a scene of pure joy and celebration. But on this day, April 15th, 2013, the cheers turned to screams. In an instant, the festive mood was shattered by an unimaginable act of terror. The joyous occasion was marred by a sudden violent disruption. The world watched in horror as a scene of joy transformed into a scene of chaos. Panic spread like wildfire as people scrambled for safety, their faces etched with fear and confusion. The sense of security that had enveloped the event was brutally torn away. Two explosions, mere seconds apart, shattered the festive atmosphere. The blasts were deafening, their impact felt far and wide. The ground shook violently and the air was filled with the acrid smell of smoke and burning debris. The blasts ripped through the crowd gathered near the finish line. People were thrown to the ground, injured and disoriented. The finish line, once a symbol of achievement and triumph, was now a scene of devastation and despair. The ground trembled, smoke filled the air, thick and black, obscuring the sunlight. The once clear and bright day was now darkened by the billowing clouds of smoke, casting a shadow over the city. A wave of fear washed over the city, leaving behind a chilling silence. The bustling streets were now eerily quiet, the only sounds being the distant wails of sirens and the hushed whispers of those trying to make sense of the tragedy that had just unfolded. The silence was soon broken by the piercing wail of sirens. It was a sound that would haunt the memories of those who heard it, a harbinger of the chaos and devastation that had just unfolded. The night was shattered, and the city was plunged into a nightmare. First responders rushed to the scene, confronted with a gruesome tableau of carnage. They moved with urgency and determination, their training kicking in as they navigated the chaos. The scene was one of utter devastation, with debris scattered everywhere and the cries of the injured filling the air. These brave men and women worked tirelessly, their faces etched with the gravity of the situation. Bodies lay scattered amidst the debris. The air was thick with the smell of gunpowder and blood. The once bustling street had been transformed into a scene of horror, with shattered glass and twisted metal littering the ground. The survivors, dazed and injured, stumbled through the wreckage, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief. The scale of the destruction was overwhelming, a stark reminder of the fragility of life. 3 innocent lives were lost that day: Crystal Campbell, Martin Richard, and Lindsay Liu. Each of them had their own story, their own dreams and aspirations, all cruelly cut short. Crystal was a vibrant young woman, full of life and energy. Martin was just a child, with a bright future ahead of him. Lindsay was a student, far from home, pursuing her education. Their loss was a profound tragedy, felt deeply by their families and communities. Their stories, their futures, snuffed out in a flash of violence. The community came together to mourn, holding candlelight vigils and memorials. The outpouring of grief was immense, a testament to the impact these individuals had on those around them. The pain of their loss was palpable, a wound that would take a long time to heal. Over 260 others bore the physical and emotional scars of that day, their lives forever altered. Some suffered life-changing injuries, while others were left with deep psychological wounds. The road to recovery would be long and arduous, filled with challenges and setbacks. But amidst the pain and suffering, there was also resilience and strength. The survivors, their families, and the community as a whole would come together, determined to rebuild and heal. The investigation began immediately. Who could commit such an act? The world demanded answers. The FBI released images of two young men, their faces captured on security cameras near the bombing site. Dzhokhar and Tamerlan Tsarnaev, brothers, immigrants, turned terrorists. Their motives, a toxic mix of extremism and anger, offered little solace to a grieving city. A massive manhunt ensued, paralyzing the city of Boston. The Tsarnaev brothers became the most wanted men in America. A shootout with police in Watertown, Massachusetts, ended with Tamerlan dead, his body riddled with bullets. Dzhokhar, wounded and desperate, was found hiding in a boat. A bloody inscription scrawled on the interior wall. He was captured, tried, and convicted. The sentence? Death. Section 5. A world transformed, the global impact. The Boston Marathon bombing sent shockwaves far beyond the streets of Boston. The world watched in disbelief, united in grief and outrage. It was a stark reminder of the vulnerability of even the most joyous occasions. Security protocols at public events were forever changed. Increased surveillance, bag checks, and heightened police presence became the new normal. The world had been forced to adapt to a new era of uncertainty. Years passed. The city of Boston began to heal, but the memory of that day lingered. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev sat on death row, his appeals exhausted. His fate hung in the balance. In a controversial decision, President Biden commuted the sentences of dozens of federal death row inmates. But Tsarnaev was not among them. His crime, deemed an act of terror, placed him in a different category. He remains on death row to this day. The Boston Marathon continues, a symbol of resilience, a testament to the indomitable spirit of the city. But the shadow of 2013 looms large. Security for the 2025 marathon is tighter than ever. Thousands of cameras monitor the crowds. Facial recognition software scans faces, searching for known threats. Plainclothes officers blend into the throngs of spectators, their eyes constantly vigilant. But it's not just the anniversary that has authorities on edge. The convergence of several religious holidays, Easter, Ramadan, Passover, with the marathon date has heightened concerns. The potential for lone wolf attacks, inspired by extremist ideologies, weighs heavily on the minds of law enforcement. And a new threat has emerged. The marathon's decision to include a non-binary gender option for runners has sparked outrage among extremist groups, leading to a surge in online threats. The Boston Marathon bombing left an indelible mark on the city and the world. It was a day that started with hope and excitement as thousands of runners took to the streets, cheered on by family, friends, and strangers. But in an instant, that hope was shattered by an act of terror that shook the very foundation of our sense of security. It forced us to confront the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface, the fragility of peace, the ever-present threat of violence. The city was plunged into mourning, and the world watched in horror as the events unfolded. Yet, in the midst of this darkness, there were glimmers of light, but it also revealed the strength of the human spirit, the determination of the runners who refused to let fear dictate their lives, the unity of a community that came together in the face of adversity. The marathon, a symbol of endurance and perseverance, took on an even deeper meaning. The courage of the first responders, the compassion of strangers. Stories of heroism emerged as ordinary people performed extraordinary acts of bravery. First responders rushed towards danger, risking their lives to save others. Medical personnel worked tirelessly to treat the injured, their dedication and skill a beacon of hope in a time of despair. the resilience of a city determined to honor its fallen and move forward together. Memorials were erected, not just as a reminder of the tragedy, but as a testament to the strength and unity of Boston. The city vowed to remember the victims, to support the survivors, and to continue the marathon as a symbol of defiance against fear. The scars may remain, but so too does the spirit of hope. The marathon continues. Each year, runners from around the world gather to honor the memory of those lost, to celebrate the resilience of the human spirit, and to show that in the face of adversity, we can and will endure. The legacy of the Boston Marathon is one of strength, unity, and an unbreakable spirit.